Evan walked slowly through the strange alien forest, feeling more tired with every step. His small scout shuttle had crashed hours ago, and smoke still rose in the sky behind him. He tried sending a distress signal again and again, but no answer ever came. Maybe this signal could not escape this strange planet. Maybe Earth was too far away, or maybe... No one was listening. The forest around him was bright with glowing plants, but still felt dark at the same time. Every leaf and every tree looked like it was watching him. The air was heavy, and the only sound he heard was his own breathing. He felt like something big was hiding between the trees, waiting for him to make a mistake. His stomach growled. He had no food left. His water was almost gone. He needed shelter soon. Then the ground shook beneath his feet. It was a slow, deep vibration, like a giant heartbeat. Evan stopped moving. He held his breath and listened. There was no wind. No birds, no insects. Nothing, only the shaking ground. He slowly turned his head to the left. A huge shadow moved behind a tall glowing tree. Evan's heart jumped. He didn't know what kind of creature lived on this planet. Maybe something friendly. Maybe something hungry. He tried to step back quietly, but the ground shook again, stronger this time. Something large was coming his way. Then he heard a low growl. He froze. The growl came again, this time closer. It sounded deep, angry, and powerful. Evan held his emergency knife, even though he knew the small blade could not help him much. The growl suddenly stopped. Waited. Silence. Then something stepped out of the thick glowing bushes. It wasn't a monster. It was a giant alien woman. She was almost 3 meters tall. Her skin was a metallic bronze color. Her eyes were bright gold and full of emotion, fear, sadness, and something Evan could not understand. She wore cracked battle armor that looked like it had been through many wars. Her left shoulder was bleeding badly, and she limped as she walked. Evan didn't move. The alien woman didn't move. For a long moment, they only stared at each other. Then she took a slow step forward and whispered in a deep voice, "Human." Her voice shook like she was in pain or maybe afraid. "Don't run," she said softly, raising her hands to show she was not attacking. I need your help." Evan did not trust her. She was huge, strong, and strange. But he also saw that she was badly injured. She was not hunting him. Something else was hunting her, and he realized it at the same moment she did. A second growl echoed behind them. This growl was not hers. The ground shook again. Trees moved. Something massive was pushing through the forest. Something that wanted them both. The alien woman's golden eyes widened. She reached out and grabbed Evan's wrist, not with force, but with surprising gentleness. "If you die," she whispered, "I die. Stay behind me. I will protect you." Evan did not know if she was telling the truth. But the growls grew louder. The monster was coming, breaking trees as it moved. Evan felt his chest tighten with fear. The giant woman leaned closer, her warm breath brushing against his ear. "Listen carefully," she whispered. "You must not leave me. You may not understand now, but our lives are tied together." Evan opened his mouth to speak, but she said something that made his heart stop. Something he never expected to hear from a wounded giant alien woman he had just met. "I need a husband." Evan blinked. He thought he heard wrong, but she whispered again, slower this time, her voice shaking as if the words were heavy with meaning. "And you need powerful children." Evan felt cold all over. Was she threatening him? Was she offering something? Was she desperate? He had no time to think. The monster roared loudly, shaking the forest. Evan turned and saw a massive shape charging toward them, its eyes burning red, its mouth full of sharp teeth. The alien woman lifted Evan into her arms like he weighed nothing. "Hold on," she growled. Then she ran. The forest flashed by in streaks of green light. Evan held onto her armor as she leaped over rivers and broken stone. The monster roared behind them, growing louder and closer. Evan looked up at the giant woman carrying him. He had no idea who she was. He had no idea what she wanted. He had no idea what kind of danger he was now part of. But one thing was clear: his life would never be the same again. The giant alien woman ran through the glowing forest with Evan in her arms, every step shaking the ground. Evan held tightly to her armor as trees rushed past them like green shadows. Behind them, the monster kept roaring, tearing the forest apart as it followed their scent. Evan looked over her shoulder and saw the creature clearly for the first time. It was huge, twice the size of the alien woman. Its skin looked like dark stone, its body thick with muscle, and its eyes burned like red fire. Every time it roared, the air seemed to vibrate. How long until it gives up? Evan shouted, trying to be heard over the wind. It will not give up, the woman said. It wants me, and now it wants you too. Evan swallowed. That was the last thing he wanted to hear after a long run. The alien woman slowed down and gently placed Evan on the ground near a large rock formation. Her chest rose and fell quickly as she tried to catch her breath. She leaned one hand against a tree and closed her eyes for a moment. "You're hurt," Evan said, pointing to her bleeding shoulder. She opened her eyes and looked down at the wound like she had almost forgotten it existed. "It does not matter," she said. "Your safety is more important right now." Evan stared at her. He had never seen someone so large, so powerful, yet so protective of him, even though they had met only minutes ago. "What's your name?" Evan asked softly. She lifted her head and looked at him carefully, like trying to decide if he deserved to know. "Rasha," she said. "My name is Rasha." Her voice sounded softer than before, almost warm. "And you?" she asked. "Evan." Rasha repeated his name slowly, as if memorizing it. "Avan, a small name for a small man." Evan frowned. "Is that an insult?" Rasha blinked. "No, it is." "Cute." Evan coughed, unsure how to respond. Another roar echoed through the trees. Rasha's smile faded instantly. "We must move," she said. "The monster will find us soon." They started walking deeper into the forest, this time at a slower pace so Rasha could save her strength. Evan walked beside her, feeling very small next to her tall, muscular form. Even injured, she moved like a warrior, silent, alert, and ready for danger. "Why is that thing chasing you?" Evan asked after a moment. Rasha hesitated. Her golden eyes dimmed. "My clan is gone," she said softly. "That creature killed the last of my people. My husband. My children. Everyone." Evan's heart dropped. He had lost people too, but never like this. "I am the last widow of my bloodline," she continued. "My people believed our strength came from our bonds, from our families, our children, our mates." She looked down at her injured shoulder, then at Evan, "And now I am alone. With no mate, no children, no clan, but you. You appeared from the sky." Evan frowned. "I didn't appear for you. It was an accident." "Yes," she said slowly. "An accident. Or fate." Evan didn't believe in fate, but the way she said it made him quiet. She stopped walking suddenly and placed her large hand on a glowing tree trunk. "My people studied humans," she said. "Your kind carries something rare inside you. A kind of soul energy. With that energy, children born from you and my kind would be strong. Strong enough to rebuild what I lost." Evan felt a cold shiver run down his back. "I didn't come here to father children," he said. Rasha looked at him with steady, gentle eyes. "I did not say you must. I only said why I need a husband." She leaned slightly closer, her voice soft but firm. "You may choose. I will not force you." Evan didn't know what to say. Her words were strange, heavy, and full of sadness. She wasn't just looking for a mate, she was looking for hope. Before he could reply, the trees behind them cracked loudly. The monster was close again. Rasha grabbed Evan's arm and pulled him behind a rock. "We cannot fight it here," she whispered. "I need to take you somewhere safe." "Where?" Evan whispered back. She pointed toward a group of distant hills glowing with blue light. "My old fortress. My home. There we can hide. There I can explain everything." The monster roared again, closer than ever. Rasha lifted Evan in her arms one more time. "Hold tight," she said. "And do not look back." Evan wrapped his arms around her neck as she began to run again. The forest shook. Trees fell. The monster chased them, louder and angrier than before. But Rasha ran faster, and Evan realized something important. Rasha wasn't just saving him. She was fighting to save the last piece of her future. Rasha ran with Evan in her arms until the glowing hills came into view. The blue light rising from the rocks looked like fire trapped inside crystal. Evan had never seen anything like it. The hills pulsed with soft energy, almost like they were breathing. "That is your fortress?" he asked, trying not to bounce as she ran. "Yes," Rasha said. "It is old, broken, but it is still my home." Behind them, the monster's roar echoed again, but this time it sounded a little farther away. Maybe the strange blue energy confused it. Maybe it slowed down. Either way, they needed to reach the fortress before it caught up. Rasha stopped at the base of the hill and lowered Evan gently to the ground. "Stay close," she said. "The entrance is hidden." She placed her hand on a large stone wall. At first nothing happened, but then the cracks in the wall began to glow with blue lines. The rock slowly slid open, revealing a dark tunnel leading inside. Evan stepped in behind her. The air inside was cool and smelled like old metal. Strange symbols decorated the walls, sharp lines and curves that looked like they belonged to an ancient, alien language. They walked deeper until the tunnel opened into a huge room. Evan gasped. Even though time had damaged it, the fortress was still beautiful. Giant stone pillars held up the ceiling. Blue lights floated gently in the air like tiny stars. Broken weapons and armor lay scattered on the floor, covered in dust and vines. On one wall, a giant symbol glowed faintly, the mark of Rasha's lost clan. "This place," Evan whispered. "It's amazing. It was once full of life," Rasha said quietly. "Children running. Warriors training. Songs at night." Evan looked at her face. She was trying to stay strong, but her eyes were full of memories. "What happened?" he asked softly. Rasha walked slowly to a large stone platform and sat down, her injured shoulder trembling slightly. "The monster," she said. "We called it a Galactic, a hunter beast born in the deep caves of this world. It killed my people one by one. My husband fought it. My children hid. But nothing stopped it." Her hands squeezed the edge of the stone. "When it came for me, I thought I would die too. But the fortress pushed the beast back with its shield energy. I lived, but alone." Evan sat beside her, though he looked tiny next to her giant form. "I'm sorry," he said. Rasha nodded but didn't speak for a long time. Then she looked at Evan, her golden eyes soft. "When I saw your shuttle fall from the sky, I thought, maybe the universe sent me a sign. Maybe life was giving me one last chance to save my bloodline." Evan didn't know what to say. He was scared, tired, and confused. But he also felt something else, something warm. Rasha wasn't a monster or a threat. She was a warrior with a broken heart. The fortress suddenly stood up quickly, her eyes sharp. "The shields are weakening," she said. "The Galactic found us." Evan's heart raced. "What do we do?" Rasha walked to a panel on the wall and pressed her hand on it. Blue symbols lit up. "I will activate the inner doors. They will slow it down. But we must repair the main energy core." Without it, the beast will break through. Evan stared at the old machinery. It looked complicated, alien, ancient. I don't know anything about your technology. You don't need to, Rasha said. I will guide you. Another roar shook the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rasha moved quickly to a glowing crystal device. It was cracked and flickering. This core gives energy to everything, she explained. Shields, doors, lights. Without it, we are trapped with the Galactic. Evan took a deep breath. All right. Tell me how to help. Rasha looked at him with surprise and something like pride. You are brave, she said. He tried to smile. I'm just trying not to die. Together, they worked on the core. Rasha lifted heavy metal plates with ease, while Evan connected wires and cleaned energy conduits. His human hands could fit into small spaces her large fingers couldn't reach. Good, Rasha said softly. You are doing well. Very well. Her voice made Evan stand a little straighter, but suddenly, the fortress shook again. This time harder. A loud crash echoed from the entrance tunnel. The Galactic had broken in. Rasha pulled Evan behind her and lifted a heavy spear from the floor. Stay behind me, she said. Her voice low and fierce. The giant alien widow stepped forward, ready to fight for her home. Ready to protect the one human who still stood beside her. The Galactic's roar echoed through the ancient tunnel like thunder trapped inside stone. Evan's heart pounded so hard he could feel it in his throat. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the blue lights above flickered weakly, struggling to stay alive. The fortress felt old and tired, like one more strong hit could bring the whole place down. Rasha stepped forward, holding the long alien spear in both hands. Even wounded, she looked like a true warrior. Her gold eyes glowed brighter when danger came close. Evan could tell she had fought this monster before, maybe many times. He could also tell this time was different. This time, she was not fighting alone. A deep scraping sound tore through the hallway, the sound of claws dragging across stone. Evan felt his skin crawl. The Galactic was huge, angry, and hungry. And it was coming for them. Rasha looked back at Evan. Stand behind me. No matter what happens. Evan swallowed hard. I won't run. A small smile touched her lips. I know. The tunnel shook again, louder this time. Then the shadows moved, and the Galactic appeared. It crawled through the tunnel like a living mountain, its huge body covered in stone-like armor. Its red eyes burned with pure rage. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of long, sharp teeth. When it roared, the sound was so powerful that Evan felt his ears ring. Rasha didn't move backward. She stepped forward. She spun the spear once, creating a sharp whisper in the air. The blue energy in the spear awakened, glowing along the blade. The Galactic lunged. Asha met it head-on. The clash shook the ground. The Galactic's claw smashed into the spear, sparks flying everywhere. Rasha pushed back with all her strength, her muscles tightening, teeth clenched. The Galactic forced her across the floor, but she held her ground. Evan watched, terrified and helpless. He wanted to help her, but he had no weapons, no armor, nothing. He was just a small human facing a giant nightmare. Rasha stabbed the spear forward, hitting the creature's chest. The blade dug in, but not deep enough. The Galactic roared and swiped at her again. She jumped back, but the claws still tore across her arm, leaving a long bleeding gash. Evan gasped. Rasha! She didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on the creature, breathing hard. The Galactic charged again. This time Rasha dodged and struck its leg, forcing it to stumble. The creature's weight cracked the stone floor. Rasha used the moment to grab a fallen metal shield from the ground and threw it at Evan. Use this to protect yourself, she shouted. Evan grabbed the shield just as the Galactic swung its tail in a wide arc. The heavy tail crashed into a pillar, sending stone pieces flying everywhere. Evan ducked and covered himself. A chunk of rock smashed into the shield. Vibrating through his arms, Rasha kept fighting, but the Galactic was stronger than before. Its attacks were wild, angry, full of fury. She blocked a strike, but the impact made her stumble. She swung the spear again, hitting its shoulder, but the blade cracked slightly. Her weapon was breaking. The creature lunged again, faster this time. It knocked Rasha back, slamming her into a wall. The impact shook the entire room. Rasha cried out in pain but stood up again, even though her legs trembled. Evan felt panic fill his chest. Rasha was stronger than any human, but this monster was too powerful. She couldn't keep fighting alone. He rushed toward a broken piece of machinery on the ground. The wires inside still glowed with weak energy. He had an idea. "Rasha!" He yelled, "Bring it closer to me." Rasha didn't ask why. She trusted him. She stepped sideways, drawing the Galactic's attention. The beast followed her, its red eyes locked onto her body. Rasha waited until it launched forward. Then, at the last second, she jumped aside. The Galactic slammed straight toward Evan. Evan yanked 2 exposed wires from the machine and crossed them. Sparks exploded. A burst of blue energy shot out. The energy struck the Galactic in the face. The monster roared in pain, shaking its head. Its armor-like skin glowed with cracking light. Rasha didn't waste the moment. She leaped forward, shouting with all her strength, and drove the broken spear deep into the beast's neck. This time the blade went all the way in. The Galactic screamed and thrashed wildly. The ground shook. The fortress ceiling groaned. Rasha held onto the spear with both hands as the creature tried to shake her off. Evan rushed to her side. "Pull!" Rasha screamed. Together they dragged the spear deeper. The Galactic let out a final thunderous roar and fell to the ground. Silence filled the fortress. Only the sound of Rasha's heavy breathing broke the stillness. She turned to Evan slowly, her face full of exhaustion but also pride. "You fought well," she whispered. Evan looked at her, amazed. "We fought together." Rasha kneeled, her huge form lowering to his height. Her golden eyes softened, and together, she said, "We survived." The Galactic's body lay still on the cracked stone floor. For a long moment, neither Evan nor Rasha moved. They just stood there, breathing hard, covered in dust and sweat, trying to understand that the impossible had happened. They had killed the monster that destroyed her entire clan. Evan leaned on the metal shield, panting. His arms shook from fear and exhaustion. Rasha dropped the broken spear and slowly lowered herself to the ground, sitting with her back against a stone pillar. Her wounds were still bleeding. Her armor was cracked. Her golden eyes looked dim, like half a dying star. But she was alive. Evan walked over and knelt beside her. "Rasha, you're hurt." She tried to wave him away. "A scratch." Evan frowned. "Your arm is practically cut open, and that's a scratch?" Rasha smiled weakly. "I have had worse." Evan tore a piece of cloth from his sleeve and started cleaning her wound. Rasha watched him quietly, as if unsure why a small human would care so much. "You risked your life," she said softly. "So did you," Evan answered without looking up. "Actually, you risked it first." Rasha tilted her head slightly. "You could have run. You could have left while I fought." "Maybe," Evan said. "But you didn't leave me when you could have." "I'm not that kind of person." For a moment, Rasha didn't speak. She simply watched him with a strange expression, half respect, half something deeper. "You are different from what I expected," she admitted. "What did you expect?" Evan asked. "A scared, weak human," she said honestly. "Someone who cries, someone who hides. But you stood by me. You thought fast. You were brave." Evan shrugged. "I was terrified the whole time." "Courage does not mean no fear," Rasha said. "It means moving forward even when fear is strong." Evan finished wrapping her arm. "There. Not perfect, but better." Rasha touched the bandage gently. "Thank you, Evan." The way she said his name made something warm spread in his chest. He looked up, and their eyes met. Her golden eyes no longer looked fierce. They looked calm, soft, full of a quiet emotion she had been holding inside. Evan stood up and walked toward the fallen Grothuk. "Do you think there are more like this?" Rasha shook her head. "No, this was the last one. I can feel it." "How do you know?" "The bond of battle," she said. "I fought this beast for years. It carried the scent of the caves. The others died long before. This was the final hunter." Evan looked at her. "Then this means your clan is avenged." Rasha's face changed. Her eyes softened, but her expression filled with deep sadness. "Yes," she said, "but I am still alone." Silence fell between them for a moment. Then Rasha slowly stood up, using the pillar for support. She walked to a stone table that was covered in dust and vines. On it lay several old objects: a small necklace, a cracked helmet, a drawing of alien children laughing. Her hand trembled as she touched the drawing. "My son made this," she whispered. "He wanted to be a warrior like me." Evan did not know what to say, but he felt her pain like it was touching his own chest. Rasha continued, her voice shaking. "My people believed in legacy, passing strength from parent to child. Without children, a warrior's life felt unfinished, empty." She turned around slowly, and without a mate. A widow carried a heavy heart. Evan stepped closer. "You said your people studied humans. You said something about soul energy." Rasha nodded. "Humans have a rare power inside them. It makes your spirit strong. It gives life a bright force. When joined with my kind, the children become powerful, wise, brave. They can rebuild what was lost." Evan swallowed. "Rasha, are you saying you want me to?" "No," Rasha interrupted softly. "I am saying I need hope. Not force. Not fear, hope, a future." She took a slow step toward him. "When I first saw you," she said, "I thought you were a sign. A chance the universe gave me. But after fighting beside you, I no longer think you are a sign." She knelt in front of him, this giant alien warrior lowering herself to a small human man. "I think you are a gift." Evan's breath caught in his chest. He didn't know what to say, or even what to feel. She was strong, loyal, brave, and now looking at him with a gentle hope that made his heart beat harder. But before he could answer, the fortress lights flickered violently. A deep rumble echoed through the floor. Rasha stood instantly. "No, not now. What's happening?" Evan asked. "The energy core," she said. "It is unstable. The damage from the fight is too much." The fortress walls trembled. "If the core breaks," Rasha said, "the whole place will collapse." Evan felt fear rising again. "What do we do?" Rasha grabbed his hand. "We run." The fortress shook again, harder this time. Dust fell from the ceiling like gray rain. The blue lights flickered wildly, flashing bright, and then turning dark. Evan grabbed Rasha's hand as she pulled him through the hall, her long strides almost making him run. "The core is collapsing," Rasha said, looking over her shoulder. "We must get out before everything falls." Evan looked back at the huge room where they had fought the Grothuk. The creature's body lay still, but cracks were spreading across the stone floor under it. The fortress felt like a giant beast taking its last breaths. "How long do we have?" he asked, trying to keep up. Rasha shook her head. "Minutes. Maybe less." They ran past fallen pillars and broken machines. The ground trembled like something was moving deep under the fortress. Evan stumbled, but Rasha caught him before he fell. "Stay close," she said. "I will not let you fall." Even in danger, her voice carried strength. When they reached the long entrance tunnel, the glowing cracks in the walls pulsed faster. The old alien symbols flickered like dying candles. One of the stone doors suddenly slammed shut behind them, trapping the Grothic's corpse inside the collapsing chamber. "Is there another exit?" Evan asked, breathing hard. "There's a back gate," Rasha said. "But it is old. It might be locked." They hurried deeper down another passage. Rasha's wounds bled again, but she ignored the pain. Evan felt a sharp ache in his chest watching her push herself so hard. "You're hurt," he said again. "I am alive," she replied. "That is enough for now." But Evan could see she was slowing down. Her steps were heavy. Her breath was rough. She was stronger than anything he had known, but even strength had its limits. They reached a large metal door covered in vines. Rasha pushed it with her shoulder dot. It didn't move. She tried again. Harder dot, still no movement. A loud crack echoed from behind them as part of the fortress collapsed. Evan felt panic rise in his chest. "It's stuck!" He shouted. "We're trapped!" Rasha growled and slammed both hands against the door. Blue sparks flowed from her palms as she used her last energy reserves. The metal shook, but didn't open. She stepped back, chest heaving. For the first time since Evan met her, she looked tired, truly tired. "This door," she whispered. It was never meant to open again. The walls behind them split. A chunk of stone crashed to the ground, shaking the tunnel. Evan grabbed her arm. "We can't stay here." Rasha looked at the door one more time, her eyes full of determination. Then she turned to Evan. "You must climb." Evan blinked. "Climb?" She pointed up. Above the door was a narrow opening, a broken ventilation hatch. "It leads outside," she said. "You can fit." "I cannot." Evan felt ice climb into his stomach. No, I'm not leaving you." "You must," Rasha said firmly. "You are small, light, fast, you can escape." She placed her hand gently on his cheek. "I am too heavy," she said softly. "If I try to climb, the hatch will break. The whole tunnel will fall." Evan grabbed her wrist. "I'm not going without you." Rasha's eyes softened with something deep, something painful, but warm. "You already gave me hope," she whispered. "That hope will not die with me." The ground trembled again. A deeper rumble came from the collapsing core chamber. The fortress was seconds from falling apart. Evan shook his head. "No, I won't leave you behind. You saved me again and again." Rasha smiled sadly. "And I would do it again. But now you must save yourself." Evan looked at the hatch. It was small, but he could reach it. He could escape, but Rasha would be trapped out. Something inside him refused that. He looked at the vines covering the wall. Strong, thick vines. He grabbed one and pulled. "It held, Rasha," he said, gripping the vine with both hands. "Climb with me." Her eyes widened. "Evan, no," he said firmly. "You said courage is moving even when you're scared." "I'm scared now. But I won't leave you." Rasha hesitated, but the tunnel cracked again, louder. Forcing her choice, she stepped toward him. "Then we climb together," she whispered. Evan climbed first, pulling himself up with shaky arms. Rasha followed close behind, her massive hands gripping the vines carefully, trying not to break them. The hatch groaned as she touched it, but she moved slowly, using only her fingertips. The tunnel collapsed below them. Evan shouted, "Rasha! Hurry!" Rasha pushed up with one final burst of strength. She squeezed through the hatch just as the entire tunnel exploded in dust and falling stone beneath her. They rolled out onto the hill, coughing and shaking. The fortress behind them collapsed in a giant cloud of blue and gray. Rasha turned to Evan, her voice low and trembling. "You saved me," she whispered. Evan touched her hand. "We saved each other." For the first time, Rasha didn't look like a giant warrior. She looked like someone who finally found something to live for. Evan and Rasha lay on the glowing grass outside the collapsed fortress, breathing hard. The entire hill shook once more as the last pieces of stone crashed down. A cloud of blue dust rose into the sky like smoke from an ending era. Rasha stared at the ruins in silence, her home, her memories, her past, all buried under stone. Evan sat beside her, unsure what to say. He wanted to comfort her, but he didn't know how. Rasha's golden eyes stayed fixed on the rubble, but her face was calm, not empty, not broken. Calm, like a warrior watching flames after a long war. "It's gone," Evan said quietly. "Yes," Rasha whispered. "My fortress, my clan. The last place they lived." She breathed in deeply. Now it returns to the earth. Evan felt a pain in his chest for her. She had lost everything, yet she still stood strong. Rasha turned to look at him. "But not all is lost." Evan frowned. "What do you mean?" Rasha placed her large hand gently on the ground beside him. "My clan believed something important. They said a warrior's home is not walls, not stone, not weapons." She touched his chest lightly with one finger. "A true home is the heart that chooses to stay with you." Evan felt warmth spread through him. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Rash took a slow breath. "Evan, are you hurt?" He laughed softly. "Just bruised. Maybe scared. Maybe both." Rasha leaned closer and inspected the small cuts on his arms. Her huge fingers moved carefully, as if she feared hurting him. This giant warrior who had torn apart monsters now handled him like he was fragile glass. "You risked your life for me," she whispered. "Again." "And I'd do it again," Evan said. She looked at him, surprised. "Why?" Evan hesitated. The words felt heavy, but true. "Because you're not just a stranger anymore." The wind moved softly through the glowing grass. For a moment, Rasha didn't reply. Then she sat down fully on the ground and looked at the sky. "There is something you do not understand," she said quietly. "My kind do not choose mates easily. It is a sacred bond. It means devotion, loyalty, a promise of a future." Evan listened carefully. "When I told you I needed a husband," Rasha continued, "I was desperate, alone, afraid of my bloodline dying." She touched her chest. "But now, my reason has changed." Evan's breath caught. "Rasha, what has changed?" She looked at him with those glowing golden eyes, filled with both strength and softness. "You," she said simply. Evan felt his heart pound. Rasha moved closer. Her presence large and warm, but not frightening. "When my people studied humans, they believed your kind carried soul energy light inside the heart. I see that light in you. Not because of your energy, but because of your actions." Evan swallowed. "Rasha, I'm not a hero." "You are," she said. "You fought a monster with no armor. You stood beside me when you could have run. You tried to save me even when I told you to escape." Her voice softened. "You showed courage greater than many warriors of my clan." Evan didn't know what to say. Her words felt heavy and beautiful. The hill around them glowed softly as night arrived. Stars filled the sky like silver dust. Rasha turned fully to face him. "I will ask you a question," she said. "But you must answer with your heart." Evan nodded slowly. Rasha lowered her voice. "Evan, will you stay with me? Not because I am alone. Not because I need children. But because you choose me." Evan looked at her. The giant widow who had lost everything, fought alone, protected him, almost died for him. He remembered her softness, her strength, her loyalty, her courage. He remembered how she looked at him like he mattered. Like he wasn't just a lost human. Like he was something important. He took her hand. It was huge, warm, strong, and trembling slightly. "Rasha," he said softly, "I choose you." Her eyes widened not in surprise, but in deep relief. She let out a breath she had held for years. She lifted his hand gently and pressed it to her forehead, a gesture of bonding from her people. "Then we are no longer alone," she whispered. Evan smiled. No, we're not. Rasha looked at the collapsed fortress one last time. Let the past rest, she said. Now we build a new future. With what? Evan asked. Rasha looked at him with a warm, confident smile. With us. The night sky glowed softly above them. 2 lives, 1 giant alien widow. 1 small human survivor sat side by side on the glowing hill, facing a new beginning together. A new clan. A new hope. A new world. And their story was only just beginning.